Ladies and gentlemen, I am your bleary-eyed host, Mark Tuff, here for another edition of Everything as a Wrestling Promo, this time talking about last night's Royal Rumble. Now, why am I bleary-eyed? Because WWE, whatever. I can't even talk because I'm so tired that the Royal Rumble ran past midnight last night or somewhere around there Eastern Standard Time. I obviously didn't get a lot of sleep, so this is going to be an interesting Everything as a Wrestling Promo episode. And let's talk about it. That late night, man, oh man. It was about 7 hours of wrestling action. There's very close friends and family that I can't even stand being around for 7 hours. So that takes some severe dedication to be able to sit and enjoy every bit. But you know what? The Rumble did a pretty damn good job, I must say. Because I thought all the matches, the singles matches, were rather spectacular. I think that Brock and Finn, amazing story. Great job on both those guys' parts. Being totally believable, off the hook. Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, I mean, they're two of the best in the game, but they were sandwiched in that really, really tough spot where the crowd was like already in it for hours and they were going to be dead no matter what. And I kind of felt bad for those guys. But despite that, they pulled out a match that was good. I don't think it was one of their best that I've seen, at least since I go back to the days of early Ring of Honor when we used to drive down to places like Elizabeth, New Jersey, Rexplex, South Philly, Murphy Rec Center. The first days of Ring of Honor and seeing those guys headlining is quite a treat for myself and my boy, Arms McGee. Shout out to the crew here of GCW. Now, other action to get to. I mean, you had like one of the most entertaining matches, I would say, was the Cesaro, Sheamus, and Miz and Shane McMahon match. The worst part of that match, since I think everything else was pretty highly entertaining, the worst part of that match was when Shane laid Cesaro down like a baby, barely putting a hurting on him on that announcer's table, and you can kind of tell Cesaro may have been a little bit pissed because he flew up after that fact, and he gave Shane a good uppercut. I think there was a little extra velocity for good measure because Shane kind of made him seem like a bit of a poontang, a little bit of a wimp when he just like kind of put him. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but I did, and my wife did. So I thought it was kind of hilarious. What else happened last night? Let's talk. Okay, what else happened last night? Let's talk some logic now. Let's talk Royal Rumbles, women's and men's. So, let's walk this through. So, Becky Lynch is not in the Royal Rumble for the women. She's not an entrant. WWE's crackhead medical officials, for some reason, could not determine beforehand that Lana is incapable of walking. Hence, likely incapable of performing. Hence, she should not have been in that match, right? Right? I mean, so that should have been taken care of earlier on. And then, as she's hobbling down for about 30 minutes, the crowd goes berserk because Becky Lynch comes out and she wants to take her place. Okay, cool. So then you have Fit Finlay, who the crowd really doesn't know as Fit Finlay anymore. I don't even know if they know anything beyond that. He must be some backstage guy showing up. And this lone guy to the WWE audiences now, has the ability to make a decision by himself that Lynch is going to take Lana's spot in the Women's Royal Rumble. And by the way, this isn't like, you're drawing number 3 or 8 or 13. This is later in the Rumble, okay? So this is a premium spot, I think, for a star as big as Lynch. She's the hottest act in the business right now. For a star as hot as Lynch, they should have made it more, right? I don't have a problem with ultimately the decision of putting Lynch into the Royal Rumble. What I do have a little bit of a problem with is that this lone guy, Fit Finlay, is able to just be like, all right, you're in the Rumble. It's as simple as that. Like, seriously? Where the hell is Jack Tunney when you need him? You know, like, what is going on? What should have happened, in my estimation, is there should have been a little bit more of a deliberation. Why wasn't Vince out there with a couple guys with headsets and they're all deliberating? Oh, should we, shouldn't we, should we, shouldn't we? You build the heat a lot more that way, and then you drop the bombshell, and then the crowd goes ape shit. That didn't happen. Lynch got in, and you kind of knew, unfortunately, once she entered into the Royal Rumble, that the likelihood of her losing that was probably zero, because she already did the favor earlier in the evening to Asuka. And for her to be so hot going into the event, it was somewhat shocking to see her lose to Asuka earlier on. And then you're like, you know what? If she's in the Rumble, this is what we had a 10-person chat, right? All our money is on different numbers in the Rumble. And I'm like, you know what? If Lynch is in this Rumble, she's winning. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. There's no way that she's not going to win the Royal Rumble. And she won the Rumble. So a little bit of a logic flaw in my estimation. Finlay apparently is a lot more powerful than I guess I knew. But I don't know. Maybe it makes sense to you. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The second bit of gapped logic in the evening happened in the guys' Royal Rumble when, of course, another woman at the center of this controversy, Nia Jax, beats the living hell out of R-Truth and then decides that it's okay for her to enter the men's Royal Rumble. Without anybody raising an objection, a question, she just, why for years haven't people just been annihilating somebody right before or right during their walking in? And then, I'm pretty sure if we go back through the history book, somebody was taken out and probably their place they weren't replaced. So apparently it's okay for Nia to take that spot, which seems a little hokey to me. Again, where's the logic in that? Where's the deliberation? I know what they wanted to create and get her in the ring with these guys because she's a monster, which is cool, but figure out some freaking smart way to do it. I mean, this was probably not it in my mind. But it was cool to see her in there. But ultimately, as Lance Storm put so eloquently on Twitter, I guess that means that Brock Lesnar can enter the Women's Royal Rumble next year, right? I mean, all she has to do is throw Lana off the stage and then walk down into the ring. It seems like that's fine based on the same logic principles, right, Mr. McMahon? I'm sorry, but the Tuff one is a little bit fired up about that one. Ultimately, I thought the Rumbles were weaker than what we've seen. The only really great surprise in my mind was Jeff Jarrett, which was awesome. JEFFJARETT was awesome. I'm a huge fan of Double J, and to see him back in a WWE ring is actually somewhat heartwarming. And I wish that he had an opportunity to turn that guitar on Elias, full of baby powder or talcum, whatever the hell happens to be in that. Could be whatever that was. It anthrax? No, not anthrax. I don't know. That powder shit that people used to send, terrorists used to send to politicians in the early 2000s. Anyway, that's besides the point. It was an overall, I thought, fun show. Too long. I don't know who the hell is show running back there on the times, but when you have a 5 hour, they started at 5, but the matches were kind of sporadic in the pre-show. There was only, 2 or 3. Ultimately, I'm going to give it mostly thumbs up because the Rumble's always a fun event. Let's face it. But gap some logic, guys. Come on. How many people work for you, Vince? I mean, We have to be able to come up with a little bit better scenario than that, right? Do you expect us to drink it in, man, like everything? So anyway, I mean, I really can't pick a fight with Fit Finlay over that because he's one of the toughest sons of bitches in the wrestling industry. But that's my 2 cents. You guys let me know what you thought of the Royal Rumble, and we'll continue this conversation while I continue being completely delirious from staying awake entirely too late and being completely wiped out from working today. And now I'm working on your behalf to try to get you the best insights of my pathological wrestling mind.